Hi, I'm Wack.
Hey, and I'm Pat, and thanks for joining us for a Thanksgiving edition of the Weekly Orbit this week ending November 29th in the United States. Happy Thanksgiving to all those who've celebrated. Wack, I'm hoping that there was a whole bunch of Joey Bag of Donuts explaining to their family members at Thanksgiving dinner last night about crypto and Ethereum and Rocket Pool and all that good stuff.
I hope so.
and
I hope so. Yeah.
any crypto conversations at your dinner table?
No, actually, I've had a few. It was quite a small Thanksgiving for me with just some family members, and we've actually been talking about crypto on and off for the last few weeks, last few months, even not directly about it, but just like here and there a little bit. So I feel like what they did was there wasn't anything new to be said. The people that I spent Thanksgiving with were people that I've seen quite a bunch of times over the last few months. Anyway, there wasn't anyone new that I was seeing. So yeah, those conversations weren't at our dinner table, but I can totally imagine that they were taking place at a lot of dinner tables across the US.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at markets, and it looks like both Bitcoin and Ethereum are getting a bid this morning. So maybe there was some talk. Ethereum's right now at 3640. That's up 2.1% overnight or over the
Yep.
last 24 hours. Now, if we go to, let's take a look at Bitcoin because Bitcoin's doing a little better. It's up 2.9%. So it's over 98,000 again.
Yep.
So pretty good overnight. We're over 3,600. Perhaps we break through. Let's take a look at the Ethereum ETF flows over the last week. And, let's start last on the 22nd, we were at 91 million inflows, 2.9 million on the 25th. On Monday, on Tuesday, it was 40, almost 41. And on Wednesday, 90 million. The markets were closed yesterday on the 28th for Thanksgiving in the United States. So starting to see a trend here, Wack. We're getting positive inflows on the ETFs. We're seeing, it seems, and we're going to talk about RPL here in a second, but yeah, it seems to be playing out how a lot of folks have been predicting. We're starting to get that rally, and we're heading towards the end of the year, and which might be exciting for prices as well. So, do you want to talk about Rocket Pool yet, or do you want to have a comment about just the broader markets?
Yeah, the market's looking strong, right? Things are going upwards. ETH is definitely had a strong week. Strong basically as post election. It's been strong, right? And it had some moves up, and then it went down a little bit against Bitcoin when Bitcoin went on that tear. It looked like it was going to break 100,000. But as Bitcoin cooled down a little bit, ETH performed strongly. So since the lows against BTC, it's up around 20%, which is quite nice. We really want to see it getting above 0.04 on the ratio and kind of holding those prices higher than that. It's kind of struggled a little bit to do that so far. It went above there once. The Christmas tree pattern that we saw right after the election, where it had like 5 strong days against BTC, and then it had like 6 days in a row of like capitulation against BTC. But this week has been really strong, like for ETH. Like you can see over there, like the numbers. Well, actually, if you go to the 1 month, you'll see against BTC more than on the 1 week. If you're looking there, the 1 month up. If you go up on the chart, yeah, further up, there 1 month. You can see that look against BTC, we're kind of flat on that time period. So that's where we had that up there. Can you see the up and then the down right after the
Yeah.
election? Yeah,
Yep.
and the goal is to get back to that point basically, and then above that. But otherwise, ETH has had a very, very strong month, and the crypto market as a whole has had a strong month, right? Like, so ETH is outperforming very slightly or on par with BTC in that time. It's outperforming things like Solana and other tokens. There are a lot of tokens that are strongly outperforming ETH, and those are the ones that kind of caught the bid of like the Trump election, and there being like this rumor going around that Trump would make US cryptos tax free. So things like ADA, HBAR, Ripple, and a few other like US crypto layer ones kind of caught a bid. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on, whether that's just an empty promise or whether that ends up being something. But a lot of tokens have pumped a lot in the last few weeks, and then ETH, of course, this week has had a really strong week. So I'm hoping that we kind of carry on with this. And
Yeah, just for the ratio for those listeners, a month ago the BTC ETH ratio was 0.037. It's currently at 0.037.
yeah,
It did peak there at 0.04,
for
but
one, yeah.
we're still in that kind of low range.
But
I remember
we hit, yeah, we hit new lows a couple of weeks ago of
yeah, right here.
0.031. So that, is a cycle low, and people were like really demoralized then. But then since then, it's gone up in dollars and it's gone up in BTC terms. So I'm just
Yep.
hoping that, we can end the year strong, and then I think we hit 2025, like we hit 2021, like full steam ahead, basically. So,
I wonder what, just a quick side note, the psychological impact of $100,000 on BTC, that extra zero. And if people, I know it's silly because it's just another number, but with psychology, you wonder if like people start saying, Bitcoin's kind of expensive. It's six figures. Let me see what else is available and maybe start buying something that's only four digits in like ETH. I just wonder, like, because I wonder if that plays any part. And then if ETH were ever to get 10,000 at some day, would people think the same thing? And it kind of take a breather when you add another zero, another digit.
yeah,
What do you
so
think? Is
unit
there any?
basis is a real thing. Like people like to have a lot of something. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just like something about human psychology, thinking, "Hey, I've got X many of these tokens, and X is bigger than Y, therefore I feel better about it." I think that is just a quirk of human psychology, like because people don't spend that minute to think about market caps or anything like that. So unit basis is a real thing. I don't think it's that overpowering, but it is a real thing. And when it comes to ETH, there might be the case that there is some unit bias versus BTC, but then you just go further down the stack, and one Sol is less than one ETH, one ADA is less than one Sol, one Doge is less than one ADA,
Do
one
you?
SHIB is less than one Doge. So you can keep going down, as far
Yeah.
down as you want, right? And there's the unit bias thing. You can't really avoid it forever, but it's a thing. So
Do you
yeah.
remember during the last bull market, people joked that, like Ethereum Classic was getting bid
Mm-hmm.
up because it was like, I think there was actually people was writing, hey, why don't you just buy ETH Classic? It's cheaper. It's a cheaper version of Ethereum because it's
Yep.
like $15. I can't remember what it was, but
Yeah.
instead of, 3,000.
No, it went up to like 100, I think, or something.
It's
It went in the
crazy.
real run. Yeah, it went in the real run. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of shows you how things can get just completely frothy during
Mm-hmm.
the peak of a bull market when people are saying stupid shit like that. Like, oh,
Yeah.
buy Ethereum Classic because it's so much cheaper. It's the on sale version of Ethereum. Like, what? What are you talking about? But
Yeah.
let's move on to Rocketpool. Rocket Pool's had a nice week as well, or RPL, I should say. On the week, it's up 41%, almost 42%. It's currently at $14.16. The ratio is currently at 0.0389. A week ago, it was at 0.03. And so we're up about, I think it's 30%. I did the math. So it's looking pretty strong against ETH, which is nice. Now, I think you tweeted or you posted something, maybe it was on your show, where we kind of RPL broke through its range. It was like
Mm-hmm.
it had this
Yeah.
range where it kind of peaked at like $12.86 or something like
Yeah. If
that.
you
So
look at the
we've
three
blown
months
through that.
chart, yeah, if you look at the 3 month chart and turn off ETH, what you'll see is, can you see those like peaks over and over
Yep.
again, kind of going to that $12.80, like $13 point. Like there's one, two, three, four also peaks that kind of hit that
Yep.
point. And like on the bottom as well, it's kind of going down to like $9 with one
Yep.
wick below a little bit. Like,
Yep.
that's kind of, in technical analysis, that's called an accumulation zone. It's when you're in this channel and you're kind of bouncing back and forth between these prices. And here it's bouncing back between like, $12.50, $13, down to like $8.50, $9. So it's done that for like 3 or 4 months in a row. And that kind of formed an accumulation zone or a channel. And what happened is, sadly, while we were bouncing around in there, ETH was grinding upwards. So we were losing out on the ratio against ETH in that time period. Like if you overlay the ratio on this now, you'll see that, the ratio was kind of like down only over this period. Yeah, like
Yeah.
slowly trending down. Can you see that? And then
Hmm.
we really got that capitulation, like, these last couple of weeks where we went
Yep.
down to 0.002999999, whatever. And then that, I think, kind of marked the bottom. And since then, we've jumped up in price in the US dollar and jumped up in ETH terms, like relatively, not quite as strongly, but like still like strongly. The thing is, like, technical analysis, I don't hold much stock in that. Like, I don't really like believe it, quote unquote. But what happens is there's other people out there who do believe it. And I saw so many tweets saying that, RPL is breaking out of its range. Like, the next point up is $16. The next point after that is $22, blah, blah, blah. And all these people kind of like start sending out this message that RPL is going up, RPL is going up. We broke out this channel, we broke out this channel. And as those kind of messages get more and more, prevalent, then people start believing it more, right? And then it makes it more likely to actually happen. So it's kind of like some weird self-fulfilling prophecy type of thing. Like, there are times when, you get these breakouts and then they're called fake outs and then they go back down. So, that's a possibility. But normally, like when things like this happen, it tends to have, a positive price bias, and like that positivity then begets more positivity, and that of course is what we want to see. So, no, I don't put much stock in this kind of analysis overall. But what I really like to see is that, that positivity kind of coming back into the markets, and then with that positivity, what you'll see is, more positivity and better price action. So,
Right.
I think
You've
that,
seen,
this is, we'd much rather be up than down, right? So yeah,
sure. Yeah, I'd
yeah,
like to see this trend continue for like a few more weeks, before I, get super excited. However, I've seen, I've been following some L2 tokens. They've also been getting a bid, outperforming ETH. So it seems
yeah.
like it's just not, we were talking the last month or so, or before that, where there was price appreciation, but we were only seeing it with just a handful of tokens,
Mm-hmm.
BTC and Ethereum, and everything else was just kind of malaise. And this next chart, we're going to compare RPL with the broader market.
Yeah.
In the last 5 days, we've got it's got RPL up 20%, Ethereum's up 9%, and everybody else, this trading view chart is everything outside the top 10 is up about 2.25%. So RPL being strong, it's
Yep.
beating everything else. But if we go back a few weeks, this was kind of the opposite,
Mm-hmm.
where it was just Ethereum and everything else was negative or
Yeah.
just kind of
Bitcoin and
stale.
Solana. Yeah.
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 So perhaps we're getting a little bit of a pivot. Smart money starting to move to some other tokens, and that
Hopefully,
could
yeah.
really benefit, smaller tokens like RPL.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
So that's what it comes down to. I think there's just there's that element of hype, that you need to get, and without that, sadly, things don't move. And yeah,
yeah. Well, speaking of things to celebrate, there was a birthday this week, and it was Rocketpool's. 7 years ago, Jasper tweets, RPL's ICO went live. In those 7 years, Rocketpool has added nearly a quarter of all Ethereum nodes and multiple billions in US dollars in ETH staked. We are the 14th largest protocol in all of crypto. I think we're the 11th largest in
this year,
Ethereum.
yep.
So happy birthday, or happy 7th birthday to Rocketpool. So quite an accomplishment. It's a little engine that could. I wasn't around 7 years ago, but as from what I read, most ICOs went bust.
Mm-hmm.
A handful were able to come out of the fire and blossom, and
Yeah.
Rocketpool was one of them. Now, I don't think you were around 7 years ago for the ICO, were you?
I was, yeah, I was around then. Yeah,
Oh,
I had just gotten into crypto around that time.
okay.
So I got in right at the peak basically in 2017. So I was kind of around that time, but I didn't know what Rocket Pool was. I don't think I'd heard of Rocket Pool. If I had heard of Rocket Pool, I gave it no mind at all. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame. But yeah, going back to the ICO stuff, like, of course, 2017, 2018 was ICO mania, and ETH, of course, did really well in the back of that. But the vast majority of ICOs from that time kind of went bust, and almost all of them, right? And there's very few of them that actually succeeded. And it's actually really amazing that Rocket Pool did. And for a while there, it was just not. We didn't have a product, right? Like the product didn't come until 2021. So there was a few years there of there's been doubt and fear about what the project was going to do, and then of course in 2022 and then 2023 of course is when Rocket Pool reached like its peak attention so far, and that was amazing. But when it comes to like this birthday, I think like there's a few different events that you can kind of count as Rocket Pool's birthday. And I think that this ICO birthday kind of came up from a discussion that was taking place in trading where people, were arguing, Mountain Bee especially was arguing that, we need to be celebrating Rocket Pool wins and milestones and getting the word out there. And I think that, when people think of Rocket Pool's birthday, there are a few different things they think of. Like mainnet launch basically is the main birthday in a sense. But that that's the big one. But this will do as well. It's not too
That was
bad.
in November as well, wasn't it? Mainnet launch.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Just a word on ICOs. I think, if there was maybe some regulatory clarity on that, I think ICOs are it's kind of a cool way to do things. You could become your own VC. If you say you're around and you're reading different pitches from startups that are looking for some seed money, and hey, I got $100 I want to throw in, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I just think it's a nice way for just small time investors to get in early, because the way it's set up now, the financial system, the traditional financial system especially, is like, if you're just you or me, we can't get in on this stuff early. It's all
Yep.
private equity, and it's really unfair. Whereas an ICO could do that for a small time investor, assuming there was some regulatory clarity. And because the way they do it now is with the airdrops, and everyone complains about how fair or unfair those are, and insiders get a ton of tokens and yada yada yada. So
Yeah.
maybe that's something that with a different regulatory regime we might see come back at some point. But maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, the thing with ICOs is that, like you said, you weren't around at the time, right? Like, there would be a protocol that would spin up, and they would have a website, and they would have a white paper, basically like just an outline of what the project was going to do, and that's all they had, and they just would then hype creating machines. They were just
Yeah.
trying to get people to boost them, give them signal boosts and stuff like that, and on the back of just a website and a white paper, some of these companies were raising millions, if not hundreds of millions, or even billions of dollars, and so many people got burned. Like the most famous one, of course, is EOS,
Yep.
who raised $4 billion in their raise that lasted a year pretty much, and then that's gone pretty much bust now. So there were a whole lot of companies and organizations like that then just amounted to nothing. So it was definitely one of those times where there was a lot of scamminess going around. There was a lot of really bad stuff happening with rug pulls and stuff. And the reality is that there's no there were no protections, right? So I
Right.
can kind of see why the regulatory environment came in the way it did. But I really like the model overall of people, the regular Joes, being on the same footing as VCs and people with a lot of money. I really like that part about it. So maybe there can be some kind of way that it can come back, but I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a look at what else is going on in Acapulco world. Well, we complained well, I did. I complained last week about the lack of tweets on the Rocket Pool Twitter account. And you have a post here in Discord. You say, we're launching a new community-run tweet generation program. And you outline the steps. And since then, we've got it's almost a daily tweet now from Rocket Pool handle on Twitter. So can you tell us a little bit about this? This is nice. It looks like we're doing a lot of the work. And I think Mav, he's the one who posts this. Or why don't you get into the details of how this community-based tweeting is working?
So it wasn't just you, right, who was upset last week. There were a whole lot of people in the community who were upset. And by the time that we were talking about it in last week's episode, I think the team had put 2 or 3 posts over the course of many weeks, with there being radio silence for a few weeks there as well. And I think people were just really upset that we have this account with thousands of followers and we just are squandering it. There's nothing happening with it. So let's do something about it. So the GMC have their bi-weekly meeting with the team. So I brought it up to Langas saying, hey, we need this. We've got this tool in our arsenal. We're not using it at all. We really need to be doing something with this. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. So I kind of had this idea of why don't the community generate some tweets, some content, and Mav can either post his own content, or if he wants, he can use the community generated content. So that post that I made was kind of coming up with a system where the community could work on writing tweets, and then if Mav likes those tweets, he can just pull them and put them on the website. And if he doesn't like those tweets, then that's fine. Like, he can come up with his own tweets, whatever he wants to say. And what's really cool is that some of these tweets that have reached it, like the one that, if you just scroll down a little bit, the one with, like, the rETH, if there's the one below, yeah, rETH minting is available. That I kind of wrote the idea for that. The one above it with the on-chain governance, Halulo kind of wrote the idea for that. So it's kind of like just general idea, right? And then Mav just took it and like kind of put it in his own words. And I think that was like really, really cool the way that he did that, right? So hopefully, people can keep using this. Sadly, I've been away from keyboard a lot for the last couple of days, so I've not really been following a lot of what's happening in the community. But I hope that people keep using this and keep putting their tweet ideas in there, and then Mav can just jump in and grab the content. Ideally, what would happen is that we're having 2 or 3 tweets a day coming out of the Rocket Pool account. But of course, we need that many tweets worth of materials to be published. So that's I think something that the whole community will have to work on together. But otherwise, like it's pretty good.
Is it under trading? Where is
Yeah.
the
So if you just
tweet?
scroll down a little bit, if you not on the post, on the main post, if you just scroll down, no, on the there, yeah, there's links right there. So there's tweet idea thread, and then the next one is tweet discussion. So the way that we're doing it is, if you want to kind of come up with some ideas for tweets, then go to the ideas discussion where other people, like, if you have an idea but you have no idea how to write it, then go to the tweet discussion and say, hey, look, I've got an idea about the APR for rETH, something along those kind of lines. And then maybe someone else will then go to the tweet idea thread and write out a tweet about the APR and post it there. And then Mav is just looking at the tweet ideas thread and kind of getting information from there. So, yeah.
I see. Brad Sheeran. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's how it works. So if you got an idea, just go to
Yeah.
the
Ideas.
tweet idea thread first,
if you've got a fully formed idea, you can put it in there. But if you've got like a half-baked idea, then go to the discussions thread and kind of like talk it out with other people there.
Gotcha. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. The other thing I was thinking is the crypto universe is kind of where I feel pigeonholed onto Twitter and a little bit of Farcaster. And
Yep.
there's, hundreds of millions of people on threads, and
Blue Sky.
there's now Blue Sky. I was wondering if that's something that Rocket Pool, you, me, and crypto in general universe is going to start expanding
Yeah.
into. It's because, what do you think? You have any just top level thoughts on other social media?
Yeah, so I think right now what's happening is a lot of people are leaving Twitter for political reasons. Like, I don't want to get too much into the politics of it, but the way that I see it is people are unhappy with Elon Musk and kind of like the messaging that he's been putting out around the elections. A lot of the Twitter people on X were kind of in line with that, so I don't think they want to leave. Like the vocal
Right.
ones anyway, do you know what I mean? The thing is though, like, there's network effects that are really, really strong. And I think going into the bull market, I think the Ethereum community made this mistake by kind of trying to migrate over to Farcaster. And it was just, Farcaster is really like an Ethereum only thing because it's a layer 2 built, I think, on Base. And it has, you need an Ethereum wallet basically, or they give you one to make an account and stuff. So it's very much like Ethereum social network. And what happened is a bunch of the Ethereans went over there, and everyone else was just like, "Hey, ETH sucks," and there weren't as many people in the Ethereum community around to kind of dispute that or counter that. Yeah, on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
So I think like even Vitalik some months ago kind of realized that we need to be engaging on Twitter. The only time I can think of people moving away from Twitter en masse is if the whole of all of crypto Twitter kind of decides to go somewhere together. I honestly can't see that happening right now, at least not into the peak of the bull market, because those network effects are so strong that kind of turning your back on that is just like shooting yourself in the foot, right? Like, it's just not smart to do. Maybe, after we've peaked and then we've got, depths of the bear market, at that point when crypto Twitter gets smaller in size and there's much less attention on it, there might be the case that, the whole of crypto Twitter can migrate somewhere else. But I think the network effects of Twitter are just so strong right now that it's very unlikely that like we're gonna move away from something soon. And those who do move away will be doing it at the cost of like massive engagement potentially. So yeah.
Gotcha. Well, it's something to keep an eye on. Let's talk about DeFi integration. So it looks like Euler is interested in integrating our ETH. They posted in Discord here. Euler they had it's a lending protocol, and then there was a pretty exciting amount of TVL they got when they were just starting out a couple years back, and then all of a sudden they had a major hack. So since then they've relaunched and they are looking to reintegrate some stuff, including our ETH. Now we need our ETH integration. We'll talk about that in a second, but it's nice to see this get. I remember we used to have people popping in asking to integrate our ETH, integrate RPL or ETH all the time. It's been a while since we had one of these, so it kind of feels good to see something like this, and we really need it too.
Yeah, absolutely, we need it. Yeah, and Euler, I think they're coming back strong, and a lot of people did get burned with their hack, but they did huge amount of audits and audit competitions and like all sorts of stuff that they've pushed these last couple of years or last year to try to build up their reputation and like trust in their platform again. And I think that they're going to capture market share. Their token's actually done well over the last months, and it seems like their protocol's growing, and them adopting our rETH, of course, is always great to see. So this post was actually made in the IMC's thread to ask for co-incentives, and I think there's like depending on what they want to incentivize, like we don't know if it's within the IMC's charter or not. So the GMC is actually on reviewing having a secondary bucket of funding for integrations where we can pay for things that are outside of the IMC's purview of their charter. So that might be getting some traction in the coming days or weeks. So there might be some interesting things going on there. So definitely keep your eyes open for that.
Okay, now on to let's look at the deposit pool. So we've had just a trickle of deposits over the last week, and this has been a trend whack, but it's not just, I don't think it's just Rocket Pool that's having this problem. It seems like in general, the LST market has kind of dried up for now. And so this is just not our problem. It's just about everybody's. And I know the community is working on different, we had the incubator, which took in the ideas. I think we had over 20 different proposals to help spur our ETH growth. And last time we talked back, I think we said that there was a special committee that was starting to browse and go through those. And the reason that we have this week is Sam has posted here an idea with our ETH withdrawal liquidity and spur a discussion. I haven't had time to go through this yet, but do you have any thoughts about our ETH, this proposal by Samus, or this discussion, I should say, along with just generally how we're going to increase our ETH growth?
Yeah. So going back to your first point about this being a wider thing, that's actually true. It seems like a lot of LSTs are losing TVL, and I think that's because there's this idea that if the bull market starts getting really hot, people want to exit their validators to sell their crypto. And as they're selling their validators, you'll get a really long exit queue. And with having a long exit queue, you will have people selling their LSTs onto the secondary market, which will cause them to depeg. So people are kind of like trying to front run that, I think, by trying to get out now and trying to be liquid with their crypto for that matter. Now, what's happened because of that is Rocket Pool, the rETH, with the deposit pool, it's empty because we've got all these validators that came online after Saturn Zero, so there isn't any ETH in there for people to burn their rETH into the deposit pool. So what's happened is new validators came online, they sucked out all the ETH from the deposit pool. Then when people wanted to burn their rETH so they could get ETH back, there wasn't any ETH there for them to burn. So they started selling on the secondary market. Now, what's happened because of that is our ETH is actually at a discount on the secondary market, around 0.7% discount, which is 3 months worth of staking rewards pretty much. So um, because of that, when people now, if people want to buy rETH, what they're doing instead is they are buying it on the secondary market, which is why you're not seeing the rETH coming into the deposit pool. Because if you go to something like CowSwap and say, hey, I want to buy rETH, then CowSwap won't take you to the deposit pool, it'll take you to the secondary market, at which point you'll get a cheaper rate. So that's kind of what's happening right now, which is why we're not seeing deposits coming into the deposit pool. Um, that's sadly the situation that we're in, and I don't I don't know how it's going to play out. Like I'm hoping that this is just a phase in the market where in a few weeks' time, as validators go offline and as more activity starts coming to Ethereum, then there's MEV that will be going to the validators. So I really hope that the staking rewards will get boosted up quite a lot. From like 2.9% or something that our ETH is at now, somewhere around 3%, maybe to like a good percentage point above that. At that point, I think it starts becoming really attractive for people who are going to ride out the cycle anyway and who don't want to trade it to just be like, yeah, I'm just going to get rETH and just go with it. Especially when there's a discount that yeah. If you scroll down a little bit on this validator Q website, you can see that we kind of hit no keep going down with the total number. I think it's the third chart. Yeah, active validators. You can see that we've peaked and then we're kind of going down a little bit. So it was like staggered line upwards, and then just like a week or so ago, we kind of peaked, and now we've gone down a little bit right there. Yeah. So I don't know, what that is going to look like in the days to come, but there might be that it's turning over there, and that's going to have impact across the whole staking space. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. But I think that if we get the APRs looking a little bit more juicy, then people will still want to hold LSTs. The interesting thing is that as you said, people are leaving other LSTs too, and there's one or two that are still kind of growing. Like EtherFi is one that's still growing a little bit, but most of the others are their TBL is contracting. However, I'm really hoping that when it comes time for these people to buy back into LSTs, then they'll be buying into rETH instead of others. But we'll wait. We'll have to wait to see that.
Yeah, I think Invis had a post about how there's there's the validator, there's the node operator side, and there's the rETH side, and no one's ever happy because it's either feast or famine.
Yeah.
We got plenty of node operators, but we don't have enough ETH in the deposit pool. And before we had a ton of ETH in the deposit pool and not enough node operators. So
Yeah.
it's just a seesaw. It goes back and forth, and it'd be nice if we can get back to some kind of equilibrium where we have a little bit of a balance. But that's how
Yeah.
the markets work. But I don't expect that. It's been like this for a month or two.
Hmm.
Fast forward to 6 months from now, I don't see this being the case because the market just changes, like
Yeah.
we were just talking about, right? So that'll affect things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's move on to our wins for the week. Do you have one?
Yeah, I think my win for the week is just like the general positivity that's kind of coming into crypto, um, and going down the stack as well. So a couple of my tokens have done really well this week. So of course, my main position is RPL and then ETH. Those are my main positions. But I got some airdrops that I'm still holding, and they're all kind of performing decently. So it's nice to see green in my portfolio. I
Yeah.
feel like it's been a while. So yeah, it's slowly inching back upwards. And it's really funny, like how human psychology works, right? Is because um, you get a couple of green days in a row and you can't help but like start imagining and like crunching numbers in your mind of what your portfolio might look like at different price points. So yeah, and there's the conversations have already started, right? Of like how you're planning the next phase of the market. Like will you be selling? Will you be holding? Like how is all that going to look? And I think that those are good conversations to be having right now because just so you know what you want to do. Like if you want to sell in this market, have a plan. If you're going to hold regardless of what's going on, then think of ways that you can increase your stack. Think of ways that you can have dry powder ready for the dips or any of that kind of stuff. Coming up with a plan is really, really important of what you're going to do, and that would be my advice. Basically, whether you're going to sell or whether you're going to hold, whether you're going to accumulate, like just come up with a plan of what you want to do. But that's
Yeah.
like something now that we're
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely have a plan. You should have a plan already, but if you haven't made a plan, make a plan because you don't want to make a plan in the heat of the frothy bowl because
Yeah.
it's going to be emotion and not logic. And
Yeah.
right?
I actually, I actually sent out a tweet a few days ago saying I will not change my price targets. I will not change my price targets like over and over again. Kind of like I'm not going to change my price targets. I'm not going to change my price. And I've had my price targets for like nearly a year now, right? Like I came up with this plan about a year ago or a long time ago, like many months ago. And I
Hmm.
exited a bunch of my validators, and like I only have one validator now and one mini pool, and that was just so I could execute my plan. And I have numbers that I have written down, and there's two numbers, and now I'm starting to think that those numbers that I have a chance of actually hitting, and I need to be ready for that. So that's kind of where I'm standing right now. So yeah, come up with a plan and stick to the plan. That's the main thing.
Definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
my win for the week is, Thanksgiving. I was thinking about what am I thankful for and all the, your good health, good friends, good relationships, yeah, all the standard stuff, which is great. And then I thought just that I think I read somewhere, your 90-year-old self would just love to do whatever you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And so the good old days are right now for you,
Hmm.
right? So enjoy the good old days. Live every day. Like just think about if you were 90, you would love to be whatever age you are now and doing whatever you're doing now. And
Yeah.
enjoy it and try to make the best of it every day. And Thanksgiving's a good time to kind of reflect on that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's my win for the week.
That's a great message. Thanks for sharing that.
Yep. Okay,
Yeah.
well, thanks everyone. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving too for the United States. We'll see you next week. Until then, let's see some more price action and hope Joey Bag of Donuts went out and bought some crypto and convinced his parents to buy some Ethereum and
I
other
hope
stuff
so.
too.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. Let's see you next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye bye.